It's hard to get away with murder, but you know what's even harder? Getting away with 7 murders. It's cold, Chicago cold. February 14th, 1929. We're standing in Northside in a quiet little garage. 2122 North Clark Street. This is Moran territory. George Bugs Moran, he runs his bootlegging operation out of here. And his men are some of the toughest in the business. It's Valentine's Day today, but there's no love in Chicago. Today, something's wrong. 7 men are here, and they're all tied to Moran's gang. And some of them are big names. Frank Gusenberg, one of Moran's top enforcers. His brother's here too, Peter. There's Adam Hayer, the bookkeeper, and a few more familiar faces. They think they're about to get a shipment of booze, but they don't know what we know. Someone else is coming. It's almost 10:30 a.m. and 2 men in police uniforms are about to walk into the garage. Behind them will be 3 more guys in plain clothes. The gangsters won't think much of it at first. This is Prohibition after all. At this time, when alcohol was banned everywhere, the police were always looking for a reason to snoop around, to get a payoff or crack skulls. But something's off. The officers line up the men like it's a routine test, and then 70 bullets, maybe more, emptied into all the men. The uniforms were a ruse. The cops weren't real cops. This was a hit, a message, and the man behind it, Al Capone, possibly. At the time, Capone was running his bootlegging empire from Florida, but his war with Bugs had been boiling for years. Moran had called him a lowlife and even jacked his liquor shipments before. He wasn't gonna let that slide, but he wasn't the only suspect. The police investigations pointed at several key figures of the underworld, actually. Someone was even accused of driving the getaway car, but no one was ever charged. The investigation was chaos. Witnesses were way too scared to talk, and the weapons used in the massacre were tied to crimes all across the United States. The only lead came months after the crime. Police raided Fred Burke's home. Fred Burke and his crew were known to routinely dress as policemen, and inside his home they found a ton of weapons. Ballistics came back and they matched to the murders. But Fred was already on the run for another crime. All 7 men ended up dead. Almost. They're rushing Frank to the hospital, and while he's bleeding out, the police ask him, "Who shot you?" He responds, "Nobody shot me." And just like that, the case runs cold. Now, where's Moran during all of this? These are all his guys. Well, he got lucky. He was running late that morning and saw the police sitting outside, so he ducked out on the massacre. But Moran wasn't the same after that. His power started slipping. He tried to stay in the game, but the massacre broke his empire. By the 1930s, he was just another small-time crook, and he ended up dying in prison. And Al Capone, he was never convicted for the massacre. He was too smart, too careful. But from then on, he would have a target on his back. The police started digging hard. The feds were done playing around, and within 2 years, they got him on tax evasion. The Valentine's Day massacre might not have sent him to prison, but it set the stage. The garage itself doesn't stand anymore. They tore it down in 1967. But if you ever find yourself in Chicago, the ghosts probably still haunt the area. After all, that city ran on booze, bullets, and blood. This was the Valentine's Day massacre.